I could hardly believe what I was seeing when that arrogant man strolled up to our table with an air of smug confidence, never once glancing my way. He grabbed my wife's hand, a contemptuous curl at his mouth. "Why waste time on a pushover?" he sneered. "Dance with me first, then I'll show you what a real man gives." His gall stopped the restaurant cold. The piano's soft melody seemed to falter, as if the pianist had paused to watch. Geneva's finest dining room, dim lamps casting a warm sheen over polished mahogany, usually felt like refined comfort. Tonight it felt like an ornate prison. Amal sat opposite, radiantly composed. Her dark, sculpted hair framed a face that commanded attention. Her lipstick, a deep red that matched her fitted evening dress, accentuated her elegance. But her eyes, once warm, were distant and hard, showing the emptiness that had crept between us these past 6 months. Our 15-year marriage was strained, and I had hoped tonight might bridge the gap. Instead, she seemed to drift farther away. Long nights at the law firm, cryptic texts, and unexplained absences had frayed our trust. Her quiet said as much as any confession. As we took our wine, the looming stranger fractured our fragile calm. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his suit tailored to suggest wealth and entitlement. Piercing blue eyes fixed on me with blatant disregard. "Magnus," he said with oily charm and insolence. "Didn't expect to run into you here." Amal's glass halted midair. A tiny tremor betrayed her surprise. Her gaze darted between us before she spoke. "Lucas," she managed, the name slipping out louder than intended. What are you doing here?" he shrugged with a smirk. "Just enjoying the city," he said. Then, without warning, he reached for her. His touch lingered, an arrogance that set my blood on fire. "Why stay with him?" Lucas mocked, tilting his head toward me. "Dance with me, and I'll show you what you've been missing." His audacity, raw, brazen disrespect, snapped something in me. My chair scraped as I rose, every muscle taut, ready. "You have 3 seconds to let go," I said, voice steady but edged with threat. Lucas met my stare with a defiant grin. "And if I don't?" The moments that followed blurred. I moved fast and precise, seizing his hand and twisting. A sickening crack echoed through the quiet dining room, followed by his howl of pain. He crumpled, clutching a ruined hand, the room filling with gasps. Amal's shocked cry cut through it all. Her face registered fear and disbelief, red lips trembling as she gripped my arm. "Magnus, what are you doing?" she hissed, voice shaking. I ignored her, crouching to meet Lucas's pain-filled eyes. My whisper was cold. "You made a mistake tonight," I said without mercy. "And I'll make sure you remember it." He spat a venomous glare despite his agony. "You'll regret this," he hissed through clenched teeth. I straightened and turned to Amal, who sat frozen, pale and unsure. "Let's go," I said, my tone clipped. She hesitated, eyes flitting between us. "Now," I snapped, leaving no room for protest. Reluctantly she rose. Her heels clicked on the polished floor as we left. Behind us, whispers swelled into a restless murmur. The restaurant would not be the same after that spectacle. The drive home was thick with silence. Amal sat rigid in the passenger seat, hands folded tight in her lap, thought racing. I could see it in the way her eyes moved, searching for words. Once we were in the driveway, I cut the engine and faced her, voice hard and unbending. "Speak," I demanded. Her composure collapsed. She stared at her hands. "Magnus, I don't know what you want me to say," she whispered. "The truth," I said, leaning in. "Who is he? How long has this been going on?" Tears leaked into her eyes, but pity had already dried in me. Sympathy's hour had passed. "It's complicated," she began. I laughed, bitter. "Complicated," I repeated. "I'll make it simple. Tell me everything now, or I'll find out myself. And you won't like how that plays out." Her shoulders sagged, the fight drained out. A broken breath escaped her. 6 months, she admitted in a voice so faint I had to listen twice. "It started 6 months ago. The confession landed like a blow I had long anticipated. Even so, hearing it made the betrayal concrete, and a part of my life began to unwind. I had suspected the truth. The suspicion had simmered long beneath the surface, waiting for proof. I inhaled slowly to steady myself, forcing a controlled calm. What was tonight supposed to be? I asked, my tone unnervingly flat despite the heat inside me. A chance to humiliate me, to flaunt it in front of everyone, she said, her voice cracking. Magnus, I didn't know he'd come. I swear I didn't. I cut her off, my words sharp. Don't lie. I saw how you froze when he said your name. Don't insult me, you knew. She buried her face, sobs muffled but raw. I stared ahead, a jumble of emotions raging inside, anger foremost. Under the fury lay something colder. The need for answers. Answers would bring clarity, and clarity would let me plan. The next morning at my office, Geneva's skyline spread beyond the windows, indifferent to my turmoil. Beauty meant nothing as my mind hardened into resolve. Betrayal pulsed like poison through my veins, yet I refused to be consumed. If Amal and Lucas believed they could betray me without fallout, they were gravely mistaken. I started with Lucas. Quick online search peeled away the glossy mask. His social pages oozed luxury. Sports cars, private jets, designer labels, the image of excess. Beneath the shine, however, lay failures. Collapsed ventures, lawsuits, rumors of dubious dealings. Lucas was not untouchable. He teetered on the brink of ruin. I reached out to my circle of discreet, capable allies, people who thrived on digging up hidden truths. The plan was set in motion. Within hours, a damning file on Lucas lay in my hands. Bank statements exposed unpaid debts, reckless ventures, and accounts drained thin by his excess. His fortune was nothing but a fragile illusion, and I was ready to collapse it. My focus then shifted to Amal. While she kept up her facade of normality, I quietly compiled undeniable proof of her disloyalty. Emails, messages, and photos of her with Lucas filled a secure folder. This was more than revenge. It was leverage. If she contested the divorce, I would wield the truth without mercy. The final act was execution. I arranged for Lucas to be invited to an exclusive charity gala, a glittering affair swarming with Geneva's most powerful figures. At the same time, I ensured his dossier reached the hands of a hungry journalist. By night's end, Lucas's carefully crafted image disintegrated. Headlines erupted across Swiss outlets. Scandal, fraud, a double life unveiled. Financial crimes, extortion, manipulation, it was all laid bare. Authorities froze his accounts, launched investigations, and seized assets. His so-called allies fled, leaving him ruined. Once arrogant, Lucas disappeared into disgrace. Amal's downfall came quickly after. When I served the divorce papers, her resistance broke under the mountain of evidence. The prenuptial agreement left her with nothing. Her social circle, fickle as ever, turned their backs. Invitations vanished, whispers grew louder, and even her family, ashamed by the scandal, abandoned her. She was left isolated, a shadow of the woman who once carried herself with poise. The fallout unfolded like a symphony of justice. For weeks, headlines echoed their ruin. Lucas now faced criminal charges, his fortune liquidated. Amal, once refined and radiant, was reduced to a weary, lonely figure. Months later at court she approached me. Her voice, once commanding, trembled. "Magnus," she whispered, eyes pleading. "I know I wronged you, but was all of this truly necessary?" I met her gaze, cold as steel beneath Geneva's skyline. "You made your choices, Amal. And choices bring consequences." Tears welled as her shoulders sagged. She turned without another word, fading into a world that no longer welcomed her. Life soon found a steadier rhythm. The house, once thick with silence and tension, now breathed with peace. I poured myself into work, striking deals and expanding my firm across Europe. The sting of betrayal lingered, but with time it dulled, replaced by clarity and purpose. One evening, at another charity gala, I moved through the room with calm confidence. A gentle tap on my shoulder drew my attention. A woman with quiet elegance stood before me. "Mr. Adler," she greeted warmly, her voice smooth yet sincere. "I'm Isabel, a historian. I've heard much about your work. It's remarkable." We spoke through the night, her intelligence and wit a refreshing contrast to shallow exchanges I'd grown used to. For the first time in years I felt a spark, something genuine and untouched by deceit. Later, as I stood on my balcony overlooking the endless city lights, I thought back on the road that had led me here. Betrayal had nearly broken me, but instead it tempered me into something stronger. Raising a glass of wine toward the stars, I whispered the words etched into me. "Pain sharpens us. Resilience shapes us." Turning from the night air, I carried with me one final truth. Betrayal may shatter you, but renewal rebuilds.